All right, my friends, today is Monday, May the 6th. Just got back from a little mini weekend vacation. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's do the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. So let's go ahead and start off with our macro outlook. There hasn't been anything dramatic that's really changed on the high time frame, so we're just going to more or less be rehashing what we've been going over for the past couple of months now. So Bitcoin is in the middle of a large uptrend. We have entered into a consolidation stage during the spring, and I expect that to continue throughout into the summer. The range that we're building on high time frame is between roughly 60K and 69K. We'll look at that on more detail when we get to the medium time frame. But that's essentially the macro range that we're working with. The trend is still up and very strong in my opinion. There's been obviously a loss of momentum over the past 2 months, but the trend itself hasn't lost structuring at all. So ultimately, I just think that we're going to continue to build out this range and chop downwards most likely, while we continue to just put people into a low volatility pain cycle. Like I've said several times now, the news event selling that we got in the middle of April was more or less going to be the peak of volatility for the foreseeable future for us. So volatility is just probably going to continue trending down from here on out. So yeah, I mean, the core thesis for our time frame that I'm working with is that we continue to be boring throughout Q2, probably going to be boring the beginning of Q3. As we progress through Q3, I think that that's where the reemergence of the trend will begin, and I think that in late Q3 and into Q4, that bulls will be back in a big way, and we'll be ending the year with a big bang and much higher prices, in my opinion. So
if you're interested in gaining access to the spaghetti template and learning how to properly utilize it, you should consider joining the Paragon group.
That's pretty much it for the higher time frame, right? You know, respect the trends, but also respect the fact that there's no momentum right now, and definitely be focused on finding the next big plays within different ecosystems and alt plays. I really think that's the main focus that everyone should have right now. Respecting the fact that there is no momentum, so directional trading right now isn't really that wise, but plan for when momentum returns, right? Be ready, because the way these cycles always take place, or the volatility cycles at least, right? You get a massive increase in volatility from an expansion move. Eventually that expansion move loses momentum and goes into a range where volatility basically just slowly drops off. When you get to the end of the stage where volatility is dropping off, I don't think it's smart to bet on when volatility is going to come back, because you're not going to guess that correctly. But just be prepared that when volatility does come back, it normally comes back in a big way and kind of blows one side out and keeps going in that direction. So I think that it's important that you don't fall asleep at the wheel right now and just lose interest because things are boring, because it's just going to take one day of high volatility for us to go, the opposite direction and just be back in the momentum stage. So let's go ahead and jump into the medium time frame really quickly. So we've just been continuing to build out this range. On the medium time frame, I'll get a little bit more precise with it. Essentially, the range low is 62K and the range high is 70K. That has shifted downwards a little bit, as this is clearly, momentum's lost and we're clearly in a bit of a downtrend right now. I mean, that's super obvious. So that's one of the main reasons why I don't think that you want to be holding on to longs or anything for too long. You want to be quick to take profit on everything across the board, in my opinion. This was obviously a great area to take along. So I long Bitcoin and Solana. I'm fully flat on that stuff across the board, though. And I really think that bulls are going to struggle to get through this area. So the way I'm basically looking at it is, if bulls are able to get through this area, which is essentially the midpoint for the range, has all the different VWAP overlaps, and essentially is fighting the just basic price structuring, right, of lower highs, because we're currently setting lower highs across the board. If bulls are able to get through this area and start to reclaim over 66 into 67K, well, then we'd obviously be targeting like 70 to 72K. I don't think that opening new positions here or holding trades from down here and trying to hope that they're going to break through here is pretty low AV. when you consider the time of the year, the just overall lack of momentum, the structuring, et cetera. I just don't think it makes sense to hold. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. On medium time frame, I'm actually kind of bearish. I do think that we'll trade lower. I think that we will attack these lows one more time, at minimum one more time, maybe maybe more than one time. But to be clear, don't let this distract you from the larger picture. I'm bearish to right now, more or less just to protect myself. I wouldn't even really call it bearish. It's just risk off or conservative is how I should look at it, because I'm not going that short on any of this stuff. I just don't want to deal with drawdown. And one of the worst things you can do is, let's say we're in an uptrend and then we go sideways like we're at now, right? You don't want to be, on the days when we trade down to 57K, this isn't where you want to be deciding how you want to reposition, how do you want to protect yourself, right? You need to be doing it as high into the value as possible and not fucking around, trying to decide how you should protect yourself after the drawdown's already come, You want to be proactive, and preemptive about these kind of things. That's pretty much it, right? Let's go ahead and get into the positioning conversation. So as far as positioning goes, I'm still holding all my core spot bags, but I did go ahead and slap on a hedge today. I got an average entry at like 66.2K on the September futures. So that's how I'm going to be choosing to protect myself. I've gotten a lot of questions about when I'm going to hedge, how I'm going to hedge, am I going to sell my spot, any of these kind of things. I definitely don't want to sell any of my spot. All my core positioning is stuff that I have high conviction in, and for the most part have really good entries in. At least all the stuff that has significant sizing all has really good entries that I don't want to fuck with. So I really am going to be trying not to touch any of that stuff at all. If I do shed things from spot, it will be the things that I bought higher and the things that are higher risk, right? So some of my meme coin plays and some of my RWA stuff, like Dusk maybe, those are the kind of things that I would shed just because they're not core positioning to me in the same way that something like Solana is, right? Like I don't want to fuck around with my Solana stack at all. I've already made that mistake once this cycle, so I don't want to do that. But to be clear, TLDR, I am hedged. I'm roughly delta neutral right now. You can't really get just to be clear, you can't really get perfect delta neutrality when you have like, 7 or 8 different coins. Realistically, I probably have more than that because I have so many different meme shitters. But let's say you have 10 coins and you go in short Bitcoin, even if you oversize your hedge, which is obviously what I did, the volatility is so much higher on the altcoins and it's dynamic too, right? The betas are always shifting. So it's pretty much impossible to go 1-to-1, but I did as close to 1-to-1 as I think I can get with just one short. So that's pretty much that. Let's go ahead and get into some altcoin talk. First and foremost is obviously going to be Solana. This is my, I do have a little bit of a bias for this coin, obviously, but I'm really happy to see that Solana is doing decently and fighting for some of these level reclaims. Like I really wanted to see this 145 level or whatever it is, 147 level get reclaimed, and it looks like it's obviously fighting for that. The trend structure still looks good overall, so very happy with how Solana's looking. This seems to be a very obvious no-brainer play moving forward in the cycle. I think that basically Solana is probably the best benchmark asset to be holding, just because I think it's more likely to have reasonable performance moving forward as compared to something like Bitcoin or ETH. Dogecoin, one of my larger bags for sure. Not really happy with how things have played out. I obviously should have done things slightly differently. I round tripped to a 70% trade on this thing, for example. But I still have conviction that Dogecoin is going to do well later this cycle, so I'm just going to hold it out. And honestly, I mean, I'm hedged across the board right now, so I don't really care what any of these things do, right? To be honest, it is what it is. If they go down, they go down. I don't really care. I have my ideas of where I'm going to cut things or where I might look to add, etc. That's pretty much it for the week, guys. The key takeaways from today's outlook should be that higher time frame, nothing has changed. We're just continuing to see the summertime chop play out. I am risk off right now, with the intention of going massively risk on later in the year. And that's pretty much it for me. So good luck out there, guys, and I'll see you soon.